All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Sneaker Biso podcast. I am your host, Tech Support Ted, aka Ted Sanders. I'm here joined with my colleague, Sean Knows Everything. And we are so excited to be here today to bring to you some fresh new content as we explore the intersection of sports, sneaker culture, and technology. I tell you, it gives me great pleasure to bring this to you. This is our very first episode and I'm so excited to bring you these perspectives on tech, exploring the intersectionality of sports, sneaker culture, and technology. So let me start by telling you, first of all, who we are. So I am the host, the Sneaker Biso, Tech Support Ted. I have a background in cybersecurity and IT. I've been in the business for well over 25 years. And I've had such an illustrious career in this industry. It's one of my passions, but I wanted to be able to make this accessible to everyone and really show that there is representation across all ethnic backgrounds in this field and in this space. I'm going to kick it over to my co-host, Sean Knows Everything, to let him introduce himself.
And I am fighting so hard not to say preach. I want to jump in. Yes, so I'm Sean, SKE. Sean Knows Everything because of Google. I'm thankful to Ted for bringing me on in this project because it is so important to get not only the word out to everyone, when I say everyone, to make it as inclusive as possible so that we can show what information security is, what a BISO does on a daily basis, the kinds of challenges and threats that you deal with on a daily basis from an enterprise view, and also share some sports and news along with that. So I'm very excited and I appreciate the inclusion here. Thank you for inviting me to join you.
So glad to have you as my partner on this, man. This has been a great journey. In fact, we started this journey around a circle table just like this. So
that we did.
Yeah, it's
around, and some coffee.
And some coffee. Yeah.
That's
So
right.
here we are. So let's dig a little deeper. Let's talk about like what a BISO or security consultant is, right? So I know that a lot of people may have heard, what a CISO is, a Chief Information Security Officer. But increasingly you hear this term BISO, right? And what is that? Well, it's a security professional that's really focused on a specific part of a company, right? Whereas the CISO may have the entire organization to sort of manage from a security perspective. The BISO really has a more detailed focus on a specific line of business. They work with all sorts of folks in the organization, maybe the legal department, the IT operations department, definitely compliance as well, just to make sure that the business is managing security risk well. They often act as consultants, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit more about their consulting role as a security consultant?
So, like you said, representing security, or rather the apparatus of security for a business unit. So the BISO or the security consultant, as is my term, my position, you're representing what security is and all of the security concerns for a business unit. So interacting, being that point of contact, that level knowledge to represent what security means for a business unit within the organization. So.
Yeah, that's right. And it's an increasingly important role, and it's gaining more notoriety and visibility because obviously the CISO can't be everywhere at all times, right? And especially for large corporations, companies that have a multinational footprint. In fact, you even see regional information security officers, right, that are focused on a specific region and really having conversations with the business, but also understanding the regulatory requirements of that region or that part of the world as well, I think is an increasing area of responsibility that the BISO or the RISO or the security consultant teams have to deal with. So there you have it. That's kind of what we do. Let's kind of pivot real quick and we'll talk a little bit about our agenda for today. So, the whole point of this podcast is about intersectionality, right? We're taking sneaker culture, sports culture, but we're taking a spin on it that allows it to be accessible from the standpoint of how you grow your career in technology, for example. But it wouldn't be a Sneaker Biso podcast, Sean Knows Everything, if we didn't talk about sneakers, right?
Sneaks,
that's right, man. Yeah. So every episode we will feature a sneaker, and so today's sneaker is going to be about Kobe Bean Bryant. What a great athlete. Rest in peace, Kobe. He's one of my favorite athletes.
Mine too.
I see head nodding from some of our production staff. Absolutely. And one of the reasons that I love Kobe is his intensity, right, and his focus. But back to the sneaker, we're going to actually feature the Kobe Home Air Force
That is
Ones,
beautiful.
right? We're going to feature these sneakers today. And I want to give a little bit of a backstory behind this shoe. First and foremost, Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's wife, had a huge role in sort of dropping hints that this shoe was coming. She actually went on Instagram and teased this shoe out. She put a couple
Wow.
of pairs of ones that had the Mamba logo embossed on the uppers. And also, she, I think, dropped a couple of photos where the laces were switched out and tricked out with either purple or gold. Obviously, the signature colors for the Lakers. And these shoes actually dropped on December 6th, 2024. And so, shout
Man.
out to my family for getting this for Christmas for me.
I was gonna say.
It was a Christmas gift, absolutely. And as you can see, these shoes really are the signature, Kobe logo on the back, right? They really kind of evoke, his style and his mantra in terms of, the design of the shoe. So they've been customized with his logo and
Those are
everything.
beautiful.
Yeah. And they do come in a black version for the away version as well. So you may see them online as well. But one of the reasons why I picked this shoe for this episode is, we just recently had the anniversary of Kobe's passing on January the 26th. And, as I reflected on his life and his values, I really, really thought about his approach to life in general, but also just his approach to basketball, right? And how that could actually kind of, resonate with a person that maybe is trying to make a career transition, or maybe they're dealing with adversity in their personal life. And so you may hear the term, Sean, the Mamba mentality, right? So we're going to actually talk about that today. And when we think about that, let's think about it in the context of athletics, but also life challenges, right? That's really the goal
Yes.
for today. Um, and so as I was thinking about that, I also picked up a copy of this book. This book is, the Mamba Mentality, Kobe Bryant, How I Play. And it's not just about how he played, but it's also about his life choices as well. And so I definitely encourage you to get a copy of this. But there's a part in this book that I want to highlight where Kobe had an interaction with Allen Iverson, right? And
Bubba
Sean,
Chuck.
you and I, yeah, Bubba Chuck,
Yes.
we've talked about that. And, interestingly, I think, it might have been maybe Kobe's first or second All-Star game. The story goes, Allen Iverson, after practice, said, "Hey, Kobe, let's go hang out. Let's go to the club." And Kobe's like, "No, I'm not going." He's like, "Why aren't you going?" And you may know what he said. You know what his response was, right, Sean?
What do you say? I'm sorry.
Well, he said, "I'm going to practice.
Oh.
I'm going back to the gym. I got another 1,000 shots
Because it's
to
the
get."
Mamba mentality.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Mamba mentality, right? And so here it is. You would think as a player, hey, All-Star break. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna chill, take it easy. Kobe's like, no, like I'm still perfecting my craft. I'm not at the level I want to be at.
Yeah.
And so while everyone else is partying, Kobe's back in the gym.
So what's interesting at that point was Iverson? Did he have a year on Kobe,
I
or was
believe
it
so?
Right.
I think
so,
he had at least a year or two.
Yeah. So Iverson was notorious for partying. Like
Oh, yeah.
Before he even got started,
Yeah.
that preceded his role in basketball and his time at Georgetown.
Right.
So when he gets to there, he's reaping the benefits of being a superstar in the league.
That's right.
And then
That's
he
right.
meets this young rookie,
up-and-coming guy,
right? Who's like, yeah, we're both in the same space. Let's go. And he has it flipped on him.
Yeah. Well, and it's also interesting to think about AI's infamous practice news conference.
Oh,
right?
right.
We're talking about practice.
That's
And
right.
listen,
That's
no
right.
disrespect, we love AI,
Right.
but the focus here is Kobe's unwavering commitment, right? It is really clear that he was about the relentless pursuit of excellence, right? And how did that manifest in hard work and discipline, making choices that are sometimes uncomfortable, right? And choices that may not necessarily be popular, right,
That's
at
right.
the time, right? And so I want to pivot and talk about what I call the power of persistence, right? When we look at Kobe, there's three things that I want to kind of highlight, and I want to encourage anyone who's looking to make inroads into technology fields, whether it be cybersecurity or AI engineering, data science, right? Three things. Number one, be ready to embrace challenges, right? The path to success is not always easy, right? But it's important to never give up. It's important to never quit. Trust the process, right? focus on just improving a little bit every day, even if you don't see immediate results, right? I know that's something that's a challenge sometimes because whether it's in athletics or in your career development, sometimes people say, "Look, I just want to win. Like I want to win tomorrow." Well, the preparation that goes into winning, right, is what you don't always see, right? You may see someone that, has achieved success and you say, "Oh man, I can do that." But what you don't see are the hours that they spent laboring
And continue.
and continue to labor,
That's right.
right, to stay on top of their game. The third point I want to make is it's important to build your skill set, right? Keep learning, keep gaining experience, expand your knowledge. Because one thing I do know about this field, and you know this too, Sean knows everything. We actually don't know everything, right? Like even because of Google, right?
That's right.
We're constantly having to continue to expand, right? And
That's right.
and technology is ever changing, right? The way in which we deployed infrastructure 10 years ago is not the way we do it today. And now that we're seeing AI and the growth of Gen AI, and now agents and reasoning AI, we're going to see even faster, I think, evolution in the industry as well. So it's important to continue to build your skills. So real quick, right? Those things I think are principles that you can kind of live by. But I also want to pivot and talk about, our own journeys a little bit, right? Maybe Sean, you can tell us about when you've had to deal with adversity in your career journey, and where you've had to be relentless in your pursuit to make it to the next level or the
Yep.
next opportunity.
Absolutely. Sure. So at first I want to talk about what you just said and
Yeah,
the
sure.
importance of making sure that you put in the time,
Yeah.
because it's so easy for us to, after we've achieved some modicum of success, to sit back and just enjoy it. But the Mamba mentality, and as Ted just indicated as well, you've got to keep pushing forward. Your job is only as secure. Even if it's not a job, your current status is only as secure as it is valuable and it continues to stay relevant. So it's very important that if you're doing something well and you're enjoying that, make sure you keep your eyes on the landscape and find out, well, where is this going? AI, caught a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah.
And so now they're faced with having to deal with, what do I need to do to stay relevant in my area of tech, given that AI is now making a lot of things redundant. And that's not its intention, but right. So
Just the reality.
it is the reality, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very, very good points and very relevant. You've got to keep your skill set. I am constantly challenged daily
Yeah.
to stay relevant, but also throughout my career to understand where things are going, try to get in front of those things, and then make sure that I am as relevant as the current trend or the new technology or even new developments in the evolution of information security. So.
Yeah, that's great, and I love that perspective. I want to talk a little bit about the importance of mentorship and mentoring. One of the things that I think about, and it's actually covered in this book as well. After Kobe's passing, I think the whole world found out about his sort of secret mentor, Mr. Michael Jeffrey Jordan, right? And if you kind of compare, I've seen some TikToks and some videos online where they actually show MJ and Kobe's videos overlaid. Specifically, there's one move that Kobe does where he does the MJ fadeaway, right? And the uncanny resemblance in terms of the form, the release time, it's really kind of scary. But we found out later just how much Kobe was actually being mentored, right, and coached by MJ, right? And infamously, even at his service, MJ talked about how Kobe would text him at all hours of the night and call. He's like, "What does this kid want now?" but just the hunger and the desire. But imagine having MJ as your mentor, right?
Yeah.
How does that translate when we think about the tech career path, right? How important is it to have community, have other individuals who may be more seasoned or more experienced,
Sure.
right? To come alongside and be open, first of all, open to having conversations and being receptive to coaching, right? And someone providing some input into your skill development plan or to things that you would like to accomplish. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. I think a lot of times people think that they can get by on their own, right, with whatever skills they've already cultivated or whatever insight they may have. And they can be the most prescient person in the world. But when you have someone who is successful and who is willing to share those tenets of success that they've identified as important to them, there's no way that you're not going to get anything out of it. And it's very
Yeah.
important that we realize that, right? The young professionals coming up understanding that, yeah, you can do it by yourself. It has been done before. It's not
Mhm.
something that can't happen. But how much easier is it to have another set of eyes that is already successful to help you get there? So
Yeah. Yeah.
even if it's not even if it's not an official mentorship, right? Understanding that you can learn something from even just spending time sending an email or
Yeah.
having met someone and asking them for their perspective. Even that
Yeah.
is will help you get further to your idea of success based on someone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very good point, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally agree. And I think, I think sometimes that we live in a generation now where a time where information is so readily available, right? Everyone has access to Chat GPT and Gemini and all these, these systems that can give you answers right away. But I will tell you, it's really important to have a person who's been in the trenches and really had real world experience in this
absolutely.
space to be alongside you. And I definitely have, my personal board of directors that kind of helps me, as I'm
Love that, by
navigating
the
my
way.
career.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I encourage all of you who want to get into technology, don't be shy. Get on LinkedIn, find ways to reach out and find people who have your perspective.
And
Yeah,
what you just said, right? You are a brand. Right?
absolutely.
You are your brand. So having a brand board of directors to help you see things that you might not have seen or help you be ahead of the game, right? By helping prep you for the stuff that you're about to experience. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah,
Brand personal board of I'm gonna adopt that, by the way.
absolutely, absolutely. That's definitely a tip from TST, and Sean knows everything. So, so let's talk a little bit more about a couple of things here. When we talk about mentorship, right? What do you say to someone who says, "But I'm kind of an introvert. I'm kind of shy. I'm not really comfortable putting myself out there.
Hmm.
I just want to kind of go to my job, do what I do, and go home." What do you say to someone that they want to move up, they want to grow, but they don't necessarily feel as though they really have the personality,
Hmm.
right, to kind of put themselves out there, because it takes a lot of courage to do
It
that, right?
does, right?
Right. You're gonna get some flack, and Kobe got some flack for chasing after MJ. A lot of people teased him a little bit. There's some stories about that. But what do you say to someone that says, "Hey, I'm kind of shy. I don't know if I really
Yeah.
have what it takes to put myself out there."
Well, I think you set this up beautifully, right? You framed it by Kobe MJ. When Kobe hit in 1995, 96,
Hmm.
right? Nobody was thinking that this kid is going to be, and they saw brilliance,
Right.
right? But no one was thinking, oh, he is going to be
The next
future
thing.
Hall of Famer,
Right.
right? Challenging MJ for the GOAT title, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
no one thought that,
Yeah.
right? But he did.
He did. Yeah.
He did,
Yeah.
right? He saw it in his mind. He knew what was going to happen,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I think that's probably the first thing.
That's good.
It's like you indicated that, yeah, maybe don't feel you don't feel necessarily that, but you have to.
Yeah.
You have to know that you are going to do this, right? That has to be foremost. You can see yourself at wherever you want to end up. That's the first thing,
Yeah.
right? You can. It doesn't happen unless you envision it, right? You may fall forward, you may fail forward, but you still see what you can eventually be. That's the first thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
What do you
great.
think about
Yeah, I think it's also right, having that courage to step outside your comfort zone,
that?
right? One of our guests that the guest that's going to come up is going to talk about being comfortable, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable,
Mm,
right? And that to me, I think is important, because anytime you want to grow, there's going to be something required of you,
has to
right?
be. You have to be uncomfortable in order to grow.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Growth requires stretching. It requires a pushing, and so the more that you do that, right, it starts to build kind of a body of work, and build your confidence to say, well, hey, I conquered this task or this challenge. Bring on the next one,
That's
right?
right.
Right, and you start to build up an appetite for that. But I love what you said about just having an unabated and unapologetic belief, right, and faith that you're going to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish. You literally have to be that all in, right, on what your vision is. Yeah.
So just to clarify that, it's not necessarily the faith that you're going to.
Hmm.
It's you see where you want to be, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
until you see that, you can't put the steps in place,
Yeah.
right, to
Yeah.
get there. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you will be challenged, and you may ask yourself, "Am I actually going to do this?
Hmm.
Is it going to work?"
Yeah.
As long as you still see that that's where you intend to be, you'll continue to get there, right?
Yeah.
But again, you have to make yourself uncomfortable. You have to step out of your comfort zone.
That's right.
It's survival or thriving, right? You
It's
can
either
just,
or.
yeah, you just survive if you want to, which is doing the bare minimum, staying comfortable.
Yeah.
Or you can thrive, which is pushing forward to getting uncomfortable and
Yeah.
doing those things that you otherwise would not do to be successful.
Yeah, perfect. And that's a perfect segue. So we're going to actually prepare for our speaker, our special guest, Mary Chaney, is going to join us
Mary
after the
Chaney.
break, and she's going to talk about
Whew.
just her journey in tech. And you're in for a special treat because she is a powerhouse. She has been a leader in technology. She is a lawyer. She has an illustrious career both in the enterprise, but also as a federal agent as well. And so we'll have her join us when we get back from break. But Sean,
I'm excited for that.
I'm excited too, man. It's been great. And so we're going to go ahead and break now, and we'll be back after our ads are paid for Mary Chaney joins.
Right on.
All right. Sneaker Biso signing off.
Welcome back. I am here to introduce Mary N. Chaney to the Sneaker Biso podcast. We are so grateful to have her join us today. First of all, Mary, you have been an amazing security, and you have now become a friend of mine. We spent so much time even this morning just getting to know each other. And so I just want to introduce you to our viewers. Mary is the chairwoman, CEO, and president of Minorities in Cybersecurity, and founder and CEO of MIC Talent Solutions. You've got over 30 years of experience in information security, privacy, risk management. You began your career as a special agent in the FBI, which is very interesting. And you've worked for a number of different corporations, GE Capital, J&J, Comcast. You have a BS in information systems and a JD from Texas Southern University. Wow. I mean, what haven't you done? And so I am so grateful to have you here just to share with us your journey in technology. Obviously, the theme of the podcast today is the Mamba Mentality. So let's just kind of start with that piece, right? Like, what for you? What does that mean for you? I know you're a former point guard, right?
Yes, well, we share the point guard, but I play point guard, I play two guard, I play small forward, power forward. Yeah. I was out there.
Okay, so you kind of a little more like
Yeah.
Oh, now we're gonna get into a goal discussion.
No. We're good. We don't have to get into that discussion.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, tell me about how you perceive that term, the Mamba Mentality.
Well, I the whole thought process around just being resilient, right? And mental toughness is important when you are a pioneer. I have been a pioneer in everything that I've done, all the things that you've rattled off in my journey, whether it be first to graduate college with a technology degree, in my family, right? And then from there, going to law school and becoming an attorney. That's right. And then going into the FBI. Who does that? Right. And from where I come from, who does that? Right. Yeah. And so it all of the things that have happened, you have to have a certain level of resilience, because even transitioning out of the FBI into cybersecurity, mostly everything that I've done has been a male-dominated field. And so for that, there's a certain level of mental toughness that comes with it. And, I'm reading another book that the alter ego effect, and these different versions of yourself that you come to the table with, which is what the Mamba Mentality, that's the foundationally what that, right? Developing different versions of yourself in order to deal with certain things, right? And I tell folks all the time, I said, there's a lawyer in me. I said, but that FBI agent is a different person too.
Right, and she's in there too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, the corporate executive and all those things. So in order to navigate certain spaces, you have to bring yourself and be comfortable with bringing yourself to the table.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. And as I think even about, Kobe and his journey and transitions, right? He started to morph into different sort of versions of himself as he added skills to himself, as he had adversity. I think that's really important in your technology career. I know for me, I've had also a very diverse background and history, and I think about skills that I've added along the way. And to your point, there are different skills and attributes that you bring forward that kind of how did you go about sort of honing those, right? Because there's one thing to sort of be aware of that they exist, but there's another thing to sort of perfect those skills.
Now you get into the secrets. I mean, it takes knowing yourself, right?
Right.
I come from inner city background, right? Everything that I've done is no one in my family have done it. So I always went into it with what I call childlike wonderment. Okay. So the question that I would always ask is, why not me? When it came down to going to college, why not me? When it came to becoming an attorney, why not me? Going to the FBI, why not me? But there are certain things that she's down there, that the little kid that grew up in the inner city, she's there. Right. But I can't let her out, right?
Come on, you put your whole self to work. Right?
Well, around the edges. So how it's refined is how you receive more education, and how you morph and change, and you when you know better, you do better. Yeah. Right. And so when you know more, you refine, you take those pieces that you're comfortable with, and you become that. And then the ones that are not, helping you out, you just leave those behind. I mean, the person that I am as a CEO is completely different than who I was running security operations. Meaning the what I'm doing is different, not the leadership principles that's ingrained in me. It's the same person. It's just a different thought process or different things that you're looking at relates to your career. And so you as an individual, it takes knowing yourself.
Yeah. I think that's really important, that self-awareness. And it's important also to think about it from the standpoint of allowing you to morph and change and add to, right? I think for me, there can be a temptation to say, oh, well, I'm a developer. That's me. But what you're saying is, well, yeah, but you can add leadership capabilities, especially if you want to move up, right? And obviously, we want to talk about today is, okay, how do you get to that next level, right? How do you level up in this game? And what I hear you saying is, yeah, you may start off in security operations, but at the same time, right, you need to be cultivating relationships, getting exposure that can propel you into management, right? How important for you was sort of building community, right? And so we'll talk about your organization. I want to see if we can get into that a little bit, because that's your passion, right? You're your life to build the next generation of cybersecurity professionals, right?
Yes.
How did you get into doing that work? Like, how did that happen? I want to hear that story.
Okay. Well, it comes back to coming out into an executive level position. So I, unlike many that try to mature and grow and, go from an analyst to a senior analyst to a manager, senior manager, director, when I came out as a director. So I was thrust into a leadership role right out of the gate. And so what I found is that there were not a lot of people that looked like me in technology as the executive level. It was like, okay, maybe 4%. And so I tell the story about why Mike exists, because I had a manager my very first manager at GE Capital. His name was James Biso. And he looked at me and he hired, this was before Zoom. I mean, he hired
and all that stuff.
Hired me sight unseen. It was based on phone interviews.
Okay.
Right. And what he told me stuck with me. And it's today, which is, it is part of your responsibility as a Black woman to be visible. To be visible so other people can understand and know that it is possible for them to be successful in this profession. And I took that to heart because he was right. And so when I thought about minorities in cybersecurity and I thought about what we needed, it's like, okay, so I'm at the director level and I'm one of one, right? Every organization that I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so what stops individuals from matriculating up the ladder?
Right.
Their lack of knowledge of the tools that they need to develop. Cybersecurity was created specifically as a leadership development organization. And we want to give individuals those tools early on in their career so they can now matriculate from the analyst to the senior analyst to the to the senior to the director, right?
Yes,
and
yes,
then
yes.
they can get to a point where they're hiring managers themselves. So there's plenty of leadership development training once you get yourself into a leadership role.
Mm-hmm.
There's development training for younger professionals.
Right.
So that's what minorities in cybersecurity is ultimately. We're there to support individuals just entering the profession and then grow with them throughout their career to give them this and leadership development that they need to continue to move on. Yeah. Because one of the things specifically, okay, so I'm sorry, let me go back. Minorities in cybersecurity we have 4 different groups.
Okay.
A, B, C, D, aspirers, builders, directors. The way I describe that or define that, aspirers are those that are looking to get into space, whether they got a degree, whether they get certifications, whether they're looking to transition from a different profession, right? They're looking to get into space. Your builders they have their first role, right? And now they're looking to build out their career. And I found with builders, we did a survey a few years ago. What I found with the builders is that they get into their first role, but then when they're ready to know how to do that.
Right.
And they're trying to figure out, how do I map out my career? So for the builders, we have a 5-month program that we take them through different things that they're now to just explore. How do I now build out my career? How do I go deeper? If I want to be a pen tester, how do I become a SME, a subject matter expert in that? Mm-hmm. And then for the communicators, those are the ones making that transition from to people leader. Right. And that transition for technologists is difficult. Oh yeah. Regardless of race or color or sex. Absolutely. And going from it's all about me to no, it's about the team. Yes. That takes development. Yes. Right. And so the communicators program is designed ultimately to teach individuals, hey, what's my leadership style? Right. How do I how do I manage up and across? Right? How do I manage peer relationships? What about my brand? And how to build a strategic program and when you're responsible and how to report out metrics, right? Yeah. That's what system thinking. Yes. Yeah. Communicators program is designed to teach people to do. And then we have our directors program, which hasn't launched because lack of funding to get that launched. But that's a year-long program to take people through. Ultimately, now you reach the director level. How do you now move to the C-level and ultimately to boards of directors?
That's great. Thank you for that. Just tour through the programs. I think, number one, I love that because you have something for everyone, right? So, for those watching, where you are in your career journey and in cyber, there is something at MIC for you, right? Like you have something that you can plug into. It's interesting you mentioned those who want to be people managers. That resonates a lot with me. That's one of my things that I personally do very well. And I think to your point, it is one of the most difficult things to navigate because now you're moving out of a situation where you need to be self-aware, but you also have to now be able to read others, right? But then there's an orchestration of really building teams and understanding the capabilities and the qualities and developing people. It stretches you in ways that sometimes, are hard to anticipate, right? What's some advice for people to perfect that? You had to do that, and it sounds like even when you came into corporate America, you were already at a director level. What experiences had you had already in your career that helped sort of get you ready for that type of response? people?
Well, first of all, you couldn't go 6 months at GE Capital without being some leadership development training. Period. I mean that
Right. That was intentionally done.
That was very, very Jack Welch. We go all very, very intentional in development of leaders, and no other organization that I work for had that type of intense focus on developing people leaders, right? And but going back, the FBI kind of prepares you for certain things as it relates to being a leader, being responsible.
Right.
I would say from the FBI, the thought process was being able to assess a situation, right? Build rapport with people. Those qualities and traits trans into my leadership style when I went into corporate America, meaning, understanding people's motivations for being there, right? When you start talking about people leadership, people are motivated by different things.
Yeah.
Some people want. Some people are looking to be promoted. I would tell people very first day of my team, you want my job? Come on. No, I'm going to teach you how to do my job. You know why? Because that's a built-in succession plan. So again, when I'm able to be promoted, now I have you there to take over, right? And that's what a lot of leaders don't get. It's like when you develop people, you're developing to take over your job so you can get a promotion.
That's a growth strategy, right?
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's so funny because I've worked with different leaders, and you said it a minute ago, right? Different styles, right? I've worked for leaders that are very vocal in how they inspire, for leaders who are more servant leaders, who are more action-oriented in how they inspire and cultivate relationships. How important is it, though, in terms of trust, right? That's a principle that I've learned in my own career in leading teams. Actually, I have a philosophy that I call the currency of trust. There's a book in that, right? But it's really about understanding that at a core, even though sometimes the work that we do is very transactional, right? But there's a relational aspect in connecting as humans, right? And building rapport and then maintaining that is one of the key responsibilities of a people leader. How do you see that, especially coming from the FBI, where, first of all, people, there's a psychological aspect to that too, right? But then you also, understand, to your point, the motivational aspect, but what resonates? How does a person, connect to bring the best of their productivity, right, to the table? How do you see that?
I would say leaders need to first understand themselves and then understand others' styles to be able to flex in and flex out of the styles based on what we're looking at. And so one of the things that we do discuss with our communicators is, first of all, you have to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you can identify and build rapport with others and meet them where they are. Hallmark of a good leader is to be able to get the best out of everybody.
Yes.
And that what works for some won't work for others. It's just like children.
Yes.
What works for one child will not work. You have to figure that out. And that means taking time to listen.
Right.
And, taking time to give constructive feedback, and having those one-on-ones are important, right? Having those skip levels are important. And being able to see who that person is at their core, and then you're able to motivate them accordingly.
Yeah.
So it's a journey.
Yeah, it is.
It is a journey.
It's a great way to describe it. Journey. Let's talk a little bit more about your conference that you have coming up, right? Which I'm very excited to first of all be able to participate in. But I'd love for you to just kind of walk us through the concept around it. So the theme is what really hooked me, right? Your theme, I think I'm paraphrasing here, is getting comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And there's a lot of layers to that, especially given the current events and things that happen around us. But what for that theme? Can you talk us through that, and then we'll talk about the details of the conference?
No, that's fine, because I guess I don't know. I mean, when I came up with the theme. It was last summer, and it was hours and hours of talking to individuals, as a leader, in our programs, and just the expectation that it's going to be easy. And so I said, that's not true. And I tell you, you're going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Cybersecurity at its root is not a comfortable field.
Facts.
There's always something.
There's always something happening.
And so it's like, so you have to be able to, as a professional, have to be able to operate under a certain level of uncertainty, period.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, and so what I find for younger professionals is that they have this that, it's going to be easy for me to grow in this space without having the experience in the space.
Right.
And so that's what the motivation came for the thing. My keynote, the blueprint, based on my love of Jay-Z. However, as I'm coming through and putting together what I want to talk about in that keynote, the current circumstance going on with the attacks on diverse individuals in the workplace, it was like, wow, I didn't know it would be that important, but now it is that important for us to have these types of discussions and to really get comfortable with the fact that this is an uncomfortable time for a lot of underrepresented groups.
Yeah, and I think, this type of conversation, number one, it needs to continue, right? One of the things that, we discussed earlier was it also has to be done in a way that allows younger associates and younger people in the space to develop the skills to deal with sometimes very uncomfortable situations in the workplace, right? I reflect on a lot is, there's a resilience aspect that is innate to the profession, but then there's the added part that comes with just understanding that there are some spaces that you're going to go into where you're not going to feel welcome. And to be able to push past that, stay focused on the task, right? And just like Kobe would do, split the double team, find the space to get the shot off and make the shot, and then get back on defense, right? How do you feel right now as we look at, younger generations of people coming to the space, right? What do you think is the key difference between, and yes, we're going there. What's the thing, right?
Well,
is that they had social media before we did? We're showing our age here a little bit.
So I don't lie about the fact that I'm an exer. I mean, if you go back,
too. Yeah.
When you go back and look at last year's conference, you'll a couple of keynotes last year on that. And what I said then is what I say now, because we have over 188 individuals in our apprenticeship program. And I know we didn't talk about that, but we do a program where we train individuals to be in the space. Right? Because regardless of what they say, there's still over 400,000 cybersecurity jobs in this country. Unfilled.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so to get the people somehow, some way, right? So it's a supply demand issue. The demand is high, the supply is low. So we develop talent from the ground up, right? We take them through that. But all that to be said, we have a large level of what I call the 42 and under crowd, the millennials and under, that they are very, very, very courageous. They're out there, they're trying new things that I see consistently. If they try and it's not successful, they wilt. They don't necessarily have the mental capacity as a Kobe did to push through the adversity they're not training themselves to deal with the adversity. And we're not meaning the cybersecurity profession is not doing any favors by telling them they could take a 6-week boot camp and get a 6-figure job.
Yes.
That nope, that's not going to happen. And what
It's a false promise.
It is. And what I tell people is like, you need to get ready. This is a long-term strategy.
Correct.
And you have to be able to have a stronger mental base than I tried once and now I'm going to go, drive a truck or whatever it is that you're going to do. This is not the type of profession that you can wilt. You're going to have successes. You're going to have failures. You have to have a strong mental presence to continue to push through when things don't go your way.
Yeah.
And I tell them all the time, they say, Miss Mary, you always fussing at us. I'm like, because you need to understand.
Yeah, that's right. And the Mamba mentality, right? It's pushing past the adversity, knowing that it's coming, right? I think for me, even as a people leader, I've been very transparent with my teams about the fact that, just like in basketball, you're going to get fouled. Like, expect the contact, right? In this space and the work that we do in cybersecurity, we are actively engaging in offensive or defensive operations, right? And we are dealing with threats. There's going to be resistance, right? Expect that, right? And I think that's, to your point, I think some people have this perception that, I can sort of see this work as just, and there are routine tasks, but as something I could just get check the box and I'm good, right? Not realizing that, okay, there's constantly an evolution, right, in terms of the threat landscape, but also the types of challenges that the enterprise is dealing with, the emerging risks, right? And the work that we do is even more visible now than ever before, because cybersecurity in many ways is now seen at an enterprise risk level. It's not just, embedded in operational risk. It's at the highest level. You mentioned, board level conversations about cybersecurity and cyber risk. And so the expectations are increasing, right? And so what I hear you saying is, if you want to get into this business, know that you need to be in it for the long haul. You need to be prepared for it. And you need to understand the significance, right, of the work and put in the time, right? And put in the effort.
That part right there.
Don't expect a quick, microwave career.
Oh my goodness. That's what we were talking about before when you were telling the story in the book. Not going out and going to take those extra 10,000 shots because you wanted to be the best.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to be the best, you're going to have to put in the work.
That's right.
And despite our AI, our Allen Iverson in practice, you want to be a professional in any capacity and you want to excel in that profession, you have to be a student of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You have to be a student of game, a student of cybersecurity, since that cybersecurity is the same as information security.
Yeah.
You could not believe the amount of people that think those are two different things. I'm like, you have no idea. I said, we go back to information assurance.
Absolutely. Information assurance
is what it was called. Knowing that and being a student of it and understanding it is important, because if you have to understand where you've been to understand where you want to go, especially in this profession. That you have to, like the apprenticeship. Before I tell them, you all come to me and say you pick an area. Oh, I want to do cloud security. Oh, I want to be a pen tester. Oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. And I say, well, you can't be a surgeon without going to medical school. Need to understand the foundational principles of what cybersecurity, information security is, why it's there, what it's meant to do, to be able to, if in the pen testing case, defend. I mean, you got to learn how to defend it, right?
Absolutely.
In the risk management space, you have to understand why cyber risk is important to an organization at the board level. Do you understand that?
That's
right, and not just think it's, oh, I need to do coding, or I need to. This is bigger than what you think it is, and you have to understand where you are putting yourself in a position to excel. What's drawing you to this, and it can't just be because I heard you can make a lot of money.
I think that temptation captures a lot of people along the way. One of my mentors told me at one time, he said, Ted, you have to be a keeper of the why in cybersecurity, right? And that's what I hear you saying, right? Even if you do a certain task, you need to understand how it fits, right? Why it exists and how it actually interrelates to the business processes and all that. One of the things I do in my day job as a Biso is connecting those dots, right? And it's one of the things that I think a lot of junior cybersecurity people need to understand is that you're part of a much larger conversation about risk, and what you do impacts that. Like, it matters, right? It's not that you just come in and go to your cubicle, but there's a significance to this work and a meaningfulness. And all of that ties back into prioritizing, the training, the regiment, right? The discipline, right? All the things that, we talked about earlier in terms of the Mamba mentality. And so, this all fits together for me. I'm so just thrilled, first of all, that you're a basketball fan. We have a lot in common in that regard. Let's talk about the conference that's coming up in March and the dates, times, and just sort of the structure. If you could kind of walk us through what's coming up.
Yeah, so the Minorities in Cybersecurity Conference is our third annual conference. It's in Irving, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas. Let's see, we have a lot of stuff going on, right? It's March 23rd, March 23rd to 27th. I mean, we start off with a couple pre-conference activities. We go to Top Golf on Sunday, and then because it's Texas, on Monday we go to the shooting range.
That's right, Texas.
That's what we do
in Texas. Yeah, we ride horses on freeways.
No, and then the conference itself starts on the 25th. Mm-hmm. And the first 2 days are our panel discussions. So we have different topics of discussion. And the conference itself is a non-technical conference. This is supporting what I call corporate survival skills. How do you navigate, right? To give you the tools to build that mental resiliency that you need to move forward, right? That's what our topics are. The first night of the conference is game night. So we're playing Family Feud. So that is going to be hilarious. I already know.
And Steve Harvey joined in?
Well, we have our own version. We have our own version of Steve Harvey. His name is Steve Easley.
Okay. That's fantastic.
And he will be the one that hosting privileges. But then the second day again is all panels and panel discussions and keynotes. And that night we have the talent show, the Mike Talent Show.
All right.
Which is a lot of fun. And this is workshops. So we have 3 morning workshops. One's on, we have a SOC simulation workshop.
Nice.
We have a written communication workshop. And then we have what's called presentation skills training workshop. So being able to write and effectively communicate ideas and present those ideas, these are all things that are important for you in your career. Mm-hmm. And then the lunch workshop is a workshop. So we bring in an organization to talk to us about how to make investments, how do we now take this opportunity that we have of being a high income earner and building wealth. And then because I'm Mary, the afternoon workshop is a self-defense workshop. So we're having my self-defense coach come in and conduct a workshop on self-defense.
Fantastic.
So that is hey.
That's a part of the game, guys. Don't sleep on that.
Don't sleep on your physical security.
That's fantastic.
So that's the conference.
Yeah, well, that's an amazing lineup of programming, and you are covering all the bases, right? You cover the aspect of how to become a cyber professional and develop in that space, but also the mental aspect, the physical aspect, just the whole aspect. So I encourage all of you to go on and check out the mid-conference.
It's the first 3 letters of Minorities in Cybersecurity. That's the easiest way.
All right.
So it's MINCYBSEC.org.
Awesome. Yes, check it out. And you have social media presence as well.
Yes. Minorities on LinkedIn, Facebook. I think we still do Facebook and Instagram. And then most of it is on LinkedIn. And then my talent is on LinkedIn as well. You can usually find it. If you search for my name, you'll usually find just based on my bio and things like that.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we are just about done today with the Sneaker Biso podcast. I want to thank our special guest, Mary Chaney, Esquire, who has her stories and journey in cybersecurity and law at the FBI. We are so excited to bring this content to you. Go ahead and like and subscribe. We'll be all on all our socials, and we'll be ready for the next episode quarter. We'll feature another sneaker reveal, and we'll have another exciting guest who has been in the trenches in cybersecurity to talk to you about how you grow and develop your career in that space. Don't forget to like and subscribe again, and we'll see Sneaker Biso TST, and I'm out.
The views and opinions expressed by guests in the Sneaker Biso podcast do not represent the official views of any organization and reflect the author's experience only. We do not endorse or take responsibility for any content shared by our guests.